welcome back. You're watching All About Stocks in 80 now. Thanks for staying with us. Sharmila Joshi, Head of Equities of Fairwealth Securities, is with us in the studio. G. Chokalingam, Chief Investment Officer at Centrum, joins us from his office as well. Mr. Chokalingam, thank you so much for staying with us. I also want to ask you about reform. Now, after what we saw happen in those state elections, there's been a view that the government might not be able to pass through a lot of reforms because it doesn't have the kind of strength it needs from its allies and from the various state governments. Do you think something like GST will be difficult to pass through at this point?
I firmly believe that the recent elections are not that important for pushing of the reforms except GST, because GST needs the support of individual state governments as well. The only area where few bills which need the support in the Rajya Sabha, like banking amendment bill, insurance bill, they may find little difficulty, but otherwise I don't see any difficulty in passing reform measures like FDI in aviation, FDI in multi-brand.
Mr. Chokalingam there is still optimistic, but you were telling me in the break that you expect some sort of populist reform. Now I want to talk to you about the engineering sector that's waiting for this logjam to move on, that's waiting for the bottlenecks to be cleared, because it wants clearances then for infrastructure. Where do you see us on the whole reform move, and how well do you think it's going to move in this budget?
I think that's the other area that's been neglected for the longest time, both power as well as the capital goods space. So power, of course, it's a multi-layered issue. It's not a single. It's not going to get solved that easily. But perhaps I think for a lot of the road projects and other pending projects, it's just really a matter of getting back to work. So I think that is the reason. That's where you feel the disconnect. And which is why probably the feeling was that this budget has been postponed, so that you see what comes out of this state elections, whether we like to give it importance or not, and then have the budget, because I think somewhere the fiscal deficit also needed to be tackled in a very firm manner. Now the fear is that since things didn't go their way, they may just end up really having a more populist, where you are promising people things and you give some leeway here and leeway there, rather than doing anything concrete.
What's your call right now on BHEL, keeping in mind the budget? Because we have a lot of viewers who hold BHEL who are interested in the stock.
See, where the stocks are concerned, I'd be positive, very honestly, because at the end of the day, we are we are just about very close to a rate cut. So once you see the rate cuts happen, and probably there will be a couple, more than a couple this year, then I think with a lag period of about 6 months or so, you will start seeing things easing up for finances easing up for these companies, because I think some of the smaller companies are also held back by the fact that that banks are not lending to them anymore, and banks have issues of their own with the kind of NPAs that have hit them with all these aviation and things, power and the other sectors that they've been involved in. So I think if you give some period, some amount of time for that to even out, then I think things look better for infra play. And we've seen a lot of the smaller companies get orders. In these last couple of weeks, if you see, a lot of orders have come out. NTPC, for instance, has given out orders for 11 boilers. So things, you do get a sense that things are beginning to move there. So I would be positive on a BHEL, L&T, BGR Energy, maybe IVRCL. Yes, in fact, either hold or even buy some of these.
Alright, hold or buy some of these. Mr. Chokalingam, power did come up. Now, we know that all of the power plants have been going through a certain amount of below capacity production because there's less coal available to them, there's less gas available to them. We know the Prime Minister's office has been working on this problem as well, but are you expecting anything on the power sector in the budget?
Definitely. There is a chance of cutting down the import duty on coal from 5% to 0% because of the coal shortage. And also the tax holiday for the power generator and distributors could be extended for another 5 years. And also the MAT, which is 18.5% for these players, which is neutralizing the benefit of tax holidays, can be or possibly reduced for the power generator and distributors. So these are the 2-3 measures I expect at least one of them to happen definitely. For the simple reason that in 12th plan we need almost around 75,000 megawatt of new power generation capacity. So unless they act on these areas, it would be very difficult for the country to increase the power capacity. So I remain quite optimistic on a couple of these measures.
Let's move on now to our portfolio segment. Now, every week we pick the portfolio of one lucky viewer, and our guest takes a look at your entire portfolio and tells you what you should be holding on to for the long term and what you should be selling. Now this week we have Dharmesh who's written in. He has 55 shares of BEML which he bought at 588. He has HDIL bought at 102. Jeff Corp bought at 98 and Lanco Infra which he bought at 17. He also has Reliance Media at 88. Shamila, when you look at this portfolio, would you say it's a very strong portfolio for the long term? Would you like to make some changes off the top of your mind?
I would really recommend holding on only to, I think, BML from this list. I'm not a great fan of Lanco Infra. I think if you see it bounce back to the 24-25 level, which it did in between, you should look to sell. Reliance Media is a little difficult to get a hang on because, with these stocks, you don't know. Maybe there could be a couple of deals that could, put them in the spotlight. But again, there I would reckon that if you were to get a price closer to 9800, that's where you should be looking to exit. And HDIL, honestly, again, I'm not really too fond of real estate, but within the real estate, perhaps HDIL is okay because, at the end of the day, the slum, that SRDA project, and they have a pretty good hold of that in Mumbai, that gives them a stronger holding than a lot of the other places. So I think even over there, if you were to see, I think it's been bought at 102, so I think if you were to get a 15-20% return, that's where I would safely really exit the stock.
So you only hang on to one of those stocks. Mr. Chokalingam, I'm not going to let you go before getting some investment advice from you. For Dharmesh's sake, considering now he only has one stock left out of the 5, how would you recommend he diversify this portfolio? Because he seems to be leaning towards the whole infrastructure sector. Would you recommend he includes maybe banking, FMCG or a couple of defensive sectors here? What would you recommend someone like him do?
I would recommend retail investors to hold on to the quality stocks. They should not be influenced by the news flow. Rather, look at quality stocks like Kane India. He should have. I would suggest every retail investor having at least 10% of the portfolio in Kane India. It's a 73% net profit margin, and at current market cap of around 72,000 crore. I expect that the cumulative net profit over next 8-9 years to be equivalent to the current market cap. So I firmly believe that the Kane India could be stock like Colgate of 1960s and 70s. So you should move on to stock like Kane India, and also you should have good exposure to great deep value stocks in the mid cap space, something like Balma Lorry Company, which has which is available at a 5 PE and solid dividend yield stock. And also there is a possibility of multi-bagger opportunity.
Dharmesh, that's the advice you're getting right now. You need to pick higher quality stocks for your portfolio. Hang on to BEML and of course Kane India. Mr. Chokalingam telling you that is a stock you have to have in your portfolio. Good luck. Write back to us if you need anything else. Remember, if you have a portfolio that you'd like for us to take a look at, you can send it to us on the email ID that's at the bottom of your screen. Mr. Chokalingam, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you. We look forward to having you back soon. On the other side of this break, Sharmila's going to stay with us and we'll be talking about your Unitech stocks. We'll tell you what you should be doing with that counter. Stay tuned.